expression that Jacob is going to share with us. Why we should not pay attention to false stories.
To answer the theme we have tonight, we need to find out what false stories are and how we can avoid paying attention to them. In the Bible, Paul used the Greek word for false stories, which can mean fiction, myth, or falsehood. In the International Standard Bible Encyclopedia, says the same Greek word refers to a religious story that has no connection with reality. Now that we know what false stories are, let's learn how we can avoid paying attention to them. We can compare them to road signs. Sometimes it might be hard to detect that a road sign has been tampered with and is pointing in the wrong direction. We might follow that road sign and go in the wrong direction. Other times we can tell that it's been tampered with and can go in the opposite in the right direction. Same is true of false stories. Sometimes we can tell it's false, other times it's harder. Another thing that will help us to be careful is to be careful what we listen to and read. If something doesn't sound quite right, then we should stop listening to or reading that object. And we also need to test ourselves constantly and prayerfully. And we need to make sure that we are sticking to the truth, not falsehood. And you may be wondering, who spreads false stories? Well, Satan does. He tries to break integrity with him. Tries to break our integrity with him. And he uses false religion, media, and apostates to spread false stories. Apostates especially want nothing more than to destroy our faith. And Bible writers constantly warn us about it. And let's read one warning at 1 Timothy 1:3 and 4. It reads, "Just as I encouraged you to stay in Ephesus when I was about to go to Macedonia, so I do now, in order for you to command certain ones not to teach different doctrines, in order to pay attention to false stories and the genealogies. Such things end up in nothing useful, but merely give rise to speculations rather than providing anything from God in connection with faith." So here Paul is warning Timothy about apostates which come out of the congregation, which is really sad. They like to worry about false stories not only outside of the congregation but inside. Now turn with me please to 2 Timothy 4:3 and 4. It reads, "For there will be a period of time when they will not put up with the wholesome teaching, but according to their own desires they will surround themselves with teachers to have their ears tickled." Now look at the footnote. It says, "or to tell them what they want to hear." Now let's read that again, but with this new phrase. For there will be a period of time when they will not put up with a wholesome teaching, but according to their own desires they will surround themselves with teachers to tell them what they want to hear. They will turn away from listening to the truth and give attention to false stories. So here we see that Paul was saying that some gladly listen to false stories, but some actually prefer false to truth. And so now that we know what false stories are and how we can avoid paying attention to them, we know why we shouldn't pay attention to them. Because they're spread by Satan. Anything that Satan has a part in, we want nothing to do with.
Thank you, Jacob. That was a rather heavy subject. Good warning to all of us. So we appreciate that you shared scriptures to help us understand what false stories are. We appreciate it too that you used an illustration to help us understand what false stories can do. Anybody over 16 has probably run into a street sign that was pointing the wrong way. I know how frustrating they are. So I appreciated as we